Hey guys, I want to talk to you about my favorite new feature that came out with Resolve 18.5 beta. This is part of Resolve's artificial intelligence updates that came out with their new software update. And specifically what I want to talk to you about is the transcription feature and how not only you can transcribe video files internally in the program, but also edit from the transcriptions. This is a game-changing feature that is going to dramatically change how people edit video that contains dialogue, whether that's interviews, as in this example, or reality TV, documentaries, you name it. This is going to be truly a game-changing feature. So let's dive in and check it out. Right here, as you can see, I have a project that I shot on Tuesday of this past week. This project was 10 different interviews with 10 different people, and I have 10 different timelines named by each person I interviewed. The reason is each of these interviews will be one 60 to 90 second video. So right here, I'll kind of jump through and show you the A cam and B cam of these shots real quick. The B cam is obviously the tighter shot. The A cam is the wider shot. I shot this off of an FX6 and FX3, and of course use my tentacle syncs for time code. But as we kind of walk through these shots, I'll tell you a little bit about the project. We shot 10 interviews in 14 hours, which was pretty tough because each of these interviews had to have a different backdrop, which means we had to bring in props and light every single one of them. And to do that, plus actually conduct the interview 10 times in a day, is a whole lot of work. But it worked out really well. And as you can see, we ended up with all 10 interviews and they all look pretty good. I haven't finished grading them. This just has a rough grade for demonstration purposes. But the idea behind this project is each of these interviews is an employee. We flew different ones down from different parts of the country and also had a few that already lived here in Texas that drove to Austin. But essentially all these employees came to a North Austin location for SAM Companies, which is a client of mine, and each of these interviews involves these particular employees talking about the company, how they came to work for the company, and why they love working for the company. The idea is that these interviews will be 60 to 90 second long videos that we'll put on various sites like LinkedIn to encourage top recruits to come and work for SAM. We did 9 of these last year, and these are just 10 more. But as I click through, you can kind of see how long some of these interviews are. I mean, this is 20 minutes, 26 seconds, and 22 frames, right? This one, if I click over to the end here, is 24 minutes, 14 seconds, and 4 frames. And I have to take all 24, in this case, 24 minutes of video and make it into 60 to 90 seconds. And you got to keep in mind, I don't work for SAM. My company was contracted to come do this video project for them. And so when I take on a project like this, I'm using my best judgment on what I think the interview should contain when I cut this down to 60 to 90 seconds. And a lot of times they'll love what I come up with, and sometimes they may want to change things. They might say, like in this interview with Nate, for example, they might really like the beginning and end of my 60 to 90 second video, but for the middle, they might say, hey, didn't Nate talk about something else, or didn't Nate mention this one thing? Let's find a way to get that in the video. And so as you can see, there could be a lot of back and forth if I'm just cutting this together using my own judgment. The only way around that is to either edit with them in person, so they can kind of watch through the process, or you would have to take these files and export them and to a smaller format and then upload them online and have these files transcribed into dialogue or text on a transcript that you could send to the client, and then they could kind of read through and tell you the bits and pieces that they like. But that obviously isn't ideal either, because you're having to export these, put them in a third-party website, etc. And you cannot edit from those files, which is what I'm about to show you. So let's just pick one. Let's pick Daniel's interview here. So Daniel's interview, again, is 18 minutes and 51 seconds and 2 frames long, and we have to get this down to 60 to 90 seconds. And rather than me use my best judgment, I want my customer to be involved in this process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the media tab here, and we're going to click on Daniel's timeline. I have my timelines folder selected, so you can see every timeline is listed here. So we'll go to Daniel's, we're going to right click, we're going to go down to transcribe audio. And it's going to start by initializing the process, and then it's going to begin analyzing the audio from the timeline, and it's going to create a transcript out of that. And as you can imagine, if you do not have good sounding audio, this won't work really well. If your audio is good and clear, this works very, very, very well. But you have to have good sounding audio. Now, you want to have good sounding audio in interviews anyway, but just keep in mind, if your audio is not very clear, not very good, then this might not work really well. But let me speed through this for you so you don't have to wait around. All right, as you can see, after about a minute or two of analyzing the audio, it was able to successfully create a transcription for us. And if you look here, it's pretty clear, and it even has punctuation, breaks between paragraphs. All of this, again, is because of the artificial intelligence, but it's pretty amazing how accurate it is. And so what I can do is I can kind of read through this myself, so I can kind of get an idea of what I want to use, but an even better way is to export this, and when I hit export up at the top, you can see it already gives it the timeline name, which is Daniel Letexier, as you can see, and I save that into, so I have a folder and a subfolder, and then I create a transcription folder, and I just put them all in this one spot, but I hit save and it creates a text file for us. And if I go over to that folder on my RAID editing drive, you'll see here's Daniel's transcription. And so what I can do is I can obviously click on this and email it off to my client, and they can go through and read through this interview. And the marketing team was with me when we shot this, but remember, we shot 10 interviews. Like, we're not going to all remember everything that was said during the interview, so this breaks it down for them in a text format. Now, they're not going to go through here and say, all right, let's use like this half of this sentence and this half of, this and this of that, because obviously this still has to cut together and flow well, because at the end of the day, it is a video and it still has to flow. However, they can read through this and say, hey, I really love what he talks about in this one paragraph, and I love what he talks about in this other paragraph. And I can, at that point, go through those comments that they give me and use that as a basis for knowing what to make sure is included in the interview. And whatever they don't include in the email, I can just kind of disregard and say, okay, we probably don't need this one paragraph because they really like these other paragraphs or these other talking points. So it just eliminates a lot of that back and forth. But here's the other cool feature, because remember, I said that you could do this through a third-party software, and being able to do this internally obviously is huge. But the other crazy thing about this is being able to edit from the transcription file, and this is what is going to be game-changing. Let's say I love this line right here where he says, every day I work with the team to monitor the goals and the projects that we work on. Let's say I know I want to use that sentence. I could highlight this sentence, and look, it's creating an in and out point for me right here. And if we actually go back to his timeline, there's the in and out point that's created. So I can literally cut that sentence out because I highlighted it in the transcription. Let's say I really like this whole paragraph that starts with and it ends with doing. If I highlighted this, again, it's going to create in and out points, and now I can cut that straight out of the timeline. So think about how much faster this is going to make editing. You could read through and determine, I love this one section, and highlight that one section and have it create in and out points for you. Or your client can get back to you and say, hey, we really love the paragraph right here in the text file. And then I can literally copy that paragraph from the transcript and have it auto create in and out points for me that I can just take the blade and chop the in and out points of. And it is going to make editing so much faster because you can just highlight, create in and out, cut it, go to another part of the transcription, highlight it, create an in and out, cut it, etc. You can also make captions out of this as well. So there's so much that you can do with these text files. So it's amazing to have this ability to do that, not only create the transcriptions in the program, but to have the ability to do closed captions and cut straight from the text file. What a game changing feature. And check this out, you can even search for stuff like key phrases. Like I could search SAM, which is the name of the company. SAM stands for surveying and mapping. I can hit that and it'll highlight the different parts in the interview where he says SAM, so I can go and search for those parts. If you were doing reality TV, for example, and you wanted to get, search for something specific and you have 14 hours of footage to go through, you can type in key phrases and quickly find that through the dialogue. It's truly an amazing feature. And like I said, again, it's going to make editing way, way, way faster and way easier when you're working on any sort of video project that contains dialogue, whether, again, that's interviews like I'm doing here, whether it's documentary, whether it's reality, you name it, this is going to be a game-changing feature. I just wanted to share that with you guys because I think this is going to truly change how I work with my customers and how much faster and more efficient my editor and I can be at editing projects on the go. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you do not work in Resolve, you need to go work in Resolve today. Premiere has some similar features, but nothing quite like Resolve. Resolve is just an amazing program, and this is just one more amazing feature within this program. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments below. Thanks. See you later.